Good afternoon, good morning. Thank you guys for being here. I'm really grateful for that. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water is clear? Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water is clear? These lines from the second to last stanza of chapter 15 of the Tao Te Ching are the foundation of today's class. And to me, they're actually the most important lines in the Tao because they speak to the importance of being with what is and practicing being with reality as it is without trying to force, control, fix, solve, make better. Just the practice of being with reality as it is. And the power of that sort of presence. So let's break down the words. I don't have it here. I'm rearranging things, so I'm creating a new workspace. So maybe next week I'll be up in the new workspace when we meet. But we'll see. But that means I've moved things around. So I actually had the quote on a bookmark, which is normally sitting right here, but I moved things, so it's not here. Anyway, do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water is clear? Envision a muddy puddle or pond. This is your mind. This might be your life, right? Envision this mud-filled pond. And now, say you wanted that pond to be clear. What would happen if you tried to push down all the mud? It just stirs it up. Say you wanted a clear mind. You just try to push away the things that you don't like, or your clear heart. And you just try to push down the feelings or the judgment or the shame, right? Or just the anxiety or the thinking, and you just try to push it down. You just make it worse. This is why I'm not a big fan of the idea of like, oh, let it go. I don't know that works. It can either be ignoring or suppression that is the effort of letting something go. And in my experience, that's never actually had any efficacy. Maybe if I'm just, sitting here all of a sudden ruminating about nuclear physics, I'm not a nuclear physicist, so not really useful to me. And unless I'm doing some research or contemplating something, if I'm just like sitting here and I actually mean to be writing my email to you guys, and all of a sudden I've gone off into some, let's give another example. Now I'm baking a cake in my mind, right? That I can notice, come back to the breath, and it'll just flit off. But if I just had a really intense conversation with someone, or I have a goal or an achievement or a fear that is just festering, letting it go has never had efficacy for me. You must check this out for yourself. You must experiment. There is no expert out there. And as we all know, we're always learning something new about existence and the mind and the world. But there is a lot of wisdom here. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water is clear? Is speaking to the reality that if you try to push things away or down or out, they just get more stirred up. And I love this image of a pond after a storm or just a muddy pond, because how does it actually become clear? It becomes clear when it's physically still for a long time. The same, in my experience at least, the same with us. How do I become clear? I just need to become physically still for a long time. The longer I stay still, the more and more clarity that comes to me. And that's why the crux of this quote unquote work that I do is practice. And what do we practice? We practice just sitting. And this is also why this is so much different than yoga or fishing or golf or swimming. Many times, especially if I'm doing a group training, people will say to me, "Oh, I don't need to meditate. I golf. That's my meditation." Or I fish, or I do yoga. And those are all lovely things. And they can be quite connected and contemplative. But they're not the same as just sitting unmoving and observing the mind. Because when I'm golfing, my focus is on the ball, or maybe the grass, or the trees and how beautiful the sky is, or the chill or the warmth. My focus is external. When you sit still is when you notice the mud of your mind. And noticing the mud of the mind is actually all you need to do. And as you sit still, the mud first becomes very clear. This is actually why a lot of people think that they can't or won't or don't know how to meditate. They say, when I sit, my mind races and is too loud. It's not that when you sit, your mind is races and is too loud. Your mind's always racing. The mind is always racing. What happens when you sit is you notice it. That's actually everything that's important to me is awareness. Just being aware is enough. When you sit physically still, you become aware of how loud and crazy your mind is. How 1 minute it's off into nuclear physics and 4 seconds later it's baking a cake, right? It's half the time nonsense and half the time running in a circle. And here's the good news, you don't need to get rid of any of it. All you need to do is notice it. Actually, I would say to the person who sits and is like, I can't meditate, my mind is so loud. I was like, that's actually what you're supposed to do. That's the point. Sit and notice the mind. Be aware of how loud it is. You know, if I'm blow drying my hair, I can't hear the air conditioner, right? I just can't because there's something too loud there. But when I actually shut off the blow dryer, I can then become aware of the hum of the AC. And if the AC cycles off and I'm actually really paying attention, all of a sudden I can hear the hum of the refrigerator. The AC and the refrigerator have been there the whole time. The refrigerator cycles down. Now I can hear the ticking of the clock. The quieter you become, the stiller you become, the more you hear, the more you experience, the more you perceive, the more you live. And that's really the point, to live. That's my goal. That's why I do this. So I can live, so you can live. I know for me, the more I practice, the more I live. Right? And that's the encouragement here. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water is clear? Now, I have a big problem with the word patient because I am not a typically patient person. If you've ever really spent time in a car with me, I like to go. I like to move. Patience to me feels like annoyed waiting. Like I can be patient, but I don't like it. You know, like, okay, I'll be patient, but I'm not going to be happy about it. I don't know if you guys have a similar experience, but that's at least me. And I can only speak for mine. But while I'm not good at patience, I am good at generosity. And I'm pretty good at kindness. So if I change that, do I have the generosity towards myself? Do I have the generosity towards my mud to wait until that mud settles and my water, my flow, my life is clear? Do I have the kindness towards myself to wait with my anger and my shame and my anxiety and my excitement and my frustration? Do I have the kindness towards my frustration, the kindness towards my anxiety? Most of the time I don't. But if I can take a breath and be aware of my mind, the anxiety, the frustration, somehow the awareness alone enables me to be with it And when I'm with it is when more opens up. And that's really the teaching here. Now, so what this is essentially saying is, can you be physically still long enough? Can you be kind enough with yourself to let yourself to stay physically still? To not at the first impulse that this is tough, or I don't like this, or my mind is too loud, to get up and run? Can I take at least one more beat, one more breath? Can I wait? Can I lean back a little? Can I? Maybe I can't right now, but maybe I can. Maybe just for one more breath, right? And as you find that you can wait, you can pause, a couple of really cool things start to happen. One, the pause becomes your life. Well, it always was your life. But you begin to be like, oh, wait, I'm all in my head and I just took a breath and there were flowers. Daffodils are out. Daffodils are one of my favorite flowers in the world. So my house is currently teeming with them. I bought 6 bunches. If you have a Trader Joe's, they're $2 a bunch right now. And I bought a lot of them, so they're everywhere. But it's in the breath that you can notice the the daffodils, the flowers. You stop and breathe, you get out of the head and into your body, and life is. And you can connect to that. You can be with it. There's not always a flower around you, right? So I can leave that in your periphery so you guys can see some flowers. There's not always flowers. There can be, though. There often are. Usually we're too in our heads to notice them, though. So do you have the patience to wait until the mud settles, the mud that's clouding your ability to be able to see the proverbial flowers of your existence in the now? To wait for it to settle so that it's clear that your life actually is, even in the midst of pain and suffering, full of flowers. Proverbial in a way, you know. It is there. It is there. So the kicker here, though, is that stillness, remaining still for a long time. And this is why form is imperative. You will often see, I think many of you who are with me know I somewhat recently moved and many things are not unpacked. I do have a little statue of someone sitting. But you often see people, I mean, I'm sitting right now. I don't know if you can tell, I'm in my little cushion here. It's cold, so I have many sweaters on. But actually, let me take this off so you get a better view. I'm on, that's the cord that keeps me plugged in that I just unplugged. I'm on a cushion, right? You will often see people sitting. Why don't I just do this? I literally fell off. You will often see meditators sitting on these cushions, right? There's nothing special or esoteric about these. There's nothing religious or profound about them. They are just a way to help you to stay seated still. So if I was to sit without my cushions and sit cross-legged, what you'll notice is that, I'm a little bit flexible, but my knees would come up. And for most people, the knees will be like this. And your legs will often go underneath and your knees are up. You can't sit still like this for very long. Your back is going to collapse. You're going to hold onto your knees for dear life. And you're going to start shifting around because whichever leg is underneath is going to get crampy. And even if you put 2 legs in front of each other, you're going to end up slouching. And when you slouch, all of a sudden you're going to notice that you're totally caved in on your breath, your body. So then you're going to straighten up. And then you're going to sit for maybe a minute before it starts to cave again. And now you're moving. You're not still. The whole point is to be still. So someone brilliant a long time ago figured out that if you get your hips higher than your knees, You get a natural arch in the back. When you're standing, your hips are higher than your knees. You have a natural arch in your back. Your sternum rises, your shoulders open and fall. Your chest, your breathing cavity is open. You're awake. You're alive. I just realized I'm not really, you can't see my face. Sorry. My face isn't important. The cushions are. So what happens when I sit on my cushion is now my hips are higher than my knees. And if you're doing it right, I'll show you this. You have one foot in front of the other. You're not putting one foot on the other one because that's going to make it fall asleep. Some people do the fancy lotus thing. If you can do that, that's fine. It's a lot of stress on my knees, so I actually don't like to do that. Let's go here. Let's go like this. So you can see all my puzzles at my table. What I want you to see is here. So because I am now, my pocket's open. Because I'm now seated like this, right? My hips are higher than my knees. I am not arching my back right now. And because of the support of the cushions, my back won't collapse. I have to force it. I am now upright. This is the position that enables you to be physically still. That's all there is to people sitting in this position. It's a way to enable you to be physically still for a long time. Now, if you're older and a lot of men, you might not be able to get into this position. It might be stressful on your hips or your knees. The other options are you can get a bench, and there's benches. I actually have a bench, but I forgot to bring it here. Actually, I don't know where it is in my equipment for you. You can sit on a bench. Again, your hips will be higher than your knees, right? And then you'll often see people seated like this position on a little bench. Or you can just sit on an edge. If you sit on an edge, remember, I have a cushion underneath here. And if I have my knees out here, that's not going to work. But if I put I'm a little tall, put my legs out, I can have that arch in my back. Now, if I go back a little bit too far, that's going to collapse over time. So you want to kind of find that hard edge spot where you're not going to fall down, but you're not going to collapse. And now elbows at the side, hands flat. I can be physically still. All these positions that you see all these wisdom people in, there's nothing special about them. They're just tools to help you stay physically still for a long time in a strong posture so that you can be awake for long enough to notice your mind and breathe with it as it is. That's how you practice patience. Breath by precious breath. The kids are out. The bells of the church are about to ring. I don't know if you guys can hear them, but they're beautiful. So this is the teaching for this week. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and your water is clear? Is ultimately pointing you to just practice in a position that you're well supported. And if you can get the form right and then just sit there, it's done. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, ideally at least 20 minutes a day. But if you're just beginning, 20 minutes a day, you might do it once or twice. And then maybe like once a week, once every 6 months. That's not going to help anybody. It's not going to help you. Consistency daily is more important than quantity. So I'd rather someone sit a minute a day, if that's something they can realistically do, than 30 minutes a day. And the way you know how long you can sit for, whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 50 minutes, is do you do it every day? Do you, at least in the beginning, at least for the good first 8 to 10 weeks, maybe 6 months up to, right? What is the amount of sitting that it takes for me to actually just do it every single day to get this to be a habit? I say for most people, because if you come to my Thursday practice class on Zoom, the link, you can find the link, the sign up link is in the description below. And you can, it's the same Zoom link every Thursday, 11:40. We'll sit for a solid 5 to 10 minutes in silence together. I'll walk you in. I'll do a body relaxation, first do a body centering and awareness exercise, a slight relaxation, and really getting ourselves grounded in this present stillness. And then we'll sit in silence for 5 to 10 minutes, mostly 5 minutes most weeks. So everyone can do 5 minutes, most people. So I encourage people that are new to try sitting 5 minutes a day. That's it. And if you can nail 5 minutes a day, do it for 7 to 14 days. Now, if you find yourself dropping off, go down to 3 minutes. If you still find yourself dropping off, go down to 1 minute. Meet yourself where you are. Just like when you become still, you meet your mind where it is. Meet your body where it is. Build a practice from where you are. Love yourself. Honor yourself. You're perfect. You really are perfect. And then build from there. Nail a minute a day. For some people, they literally, if they're in an office or whatever, their life is crazy, they have kids, the whole thing. It might take going to the bathroom and locking yourself in the bathroom and sitting on a literal throne for 1 minute. Just breathing. Just breathe. Just breathe. Let myself become physically still. Slow down. Relax. Breathe. Set a little timer for a minute. Nailed it. Do that every day. Get to be that habit. And then start maybe doing it 3 times a day. Now I'm up to 3 minutes a day. Then start to maybe extend it. Do the practice that lets you get consistent daily. I've had people where a minute a day just was too much. So then we sent a little alarm, little ding that could go off on their phone or a little buzz, where when they heard it go off, once, max 3 times a day, they'd just take 1 breath until they could nail that for 2 or 3 weeks. Then they pushed up to 3 breaths. Meet yourself where you are and then build on that. Get consistent with what you can do. Now, if you can do 5 or 10 minutes a day and you've got that going for 2 straight weeks, now start to get bigger. If you're at 5 for 2 weeks, now go to 7, then 10, then 12, then 15, 17, 20. If at any point you start to not do it, pull back. Keep consistent. Ideally, at some point, minimum 20 minutes a day. Right? Ideally, you're bookending your day. Morning and night, 20 minutes a day. I've built a whole career out of sitting where my work, I get paid to sit with people because not only do I know what's good for everyone that I sit with and work with, they immediately become more centered and grounded, right, to actually do the sitting. All of my private clients, they'll always, let's sit. No, let's do the sitting. I'll have them check in with their body. What do you need or want to do right now? Most of the time, it's like, yeah, let's just sit. I need that extra quiet. I've built a whole life where, in addition to my, 20 minutes or 30 minutes twice a day, I'm sitting multiple times a day through people because I know the more I sit, the more I live, the more connected I get, the more joy I can find, even in the midst of like mayhem or pain or whatever. I just keep coming back to the breath, noticing, because it's become a habit of how I live. And this is what I want for all of you. All right, we're at 12:05. I'll go back down to my little cushion here. Any questions? Give a moment for some questions. While I'm live, only subscribers can ask questions, but you can subscribe immediately and ask a question. If you're watching the replay, anyone can make a comment and ask a question. And please do. Really, don't believe me. Don't believe any of this stuff. You really have to test this and find out for yourself. But in my experience, this practice of getting physically still and just breathing, I don't know anyone it doesn't serve. All right, so I don't see any questions. Thank you. There's more people that's been here today than I've ever been before, so I'm really grateful for that. I hope that this is useful. The full chapter 15 is in the description below, along with the links to my website and stuff. We're going to continue with chapter 15 next week, actually with the next 2 lines of the stanza that we started with today. So we started with, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and your water is clear? And next week, we're going to talk about, can you remain unmoving until right action arises by itself? Yeah. Thank you, guys. Super grateful. Have a beautiful week. Sit strong. And I hope to see you all in the practice class on Thursday when we actually do the sitting, which is the whole point. All right. Thanks. Sit strong. Big love.